Many Muslims just simply have the simplistic idea that there has only been one version of the Quran throughout history, and that's the version that we're holding now. And when we read our history, we see, in fact, that there were variations, multiple readings.
Currently, there are 5 different versions of the Quran found in the Muslim Ummah.
The Quran that is widely circulated among Muslims, that is often referred to in academic circles as the 1924, the Cairene edition of the Quran, this is one of those streams of the revelation.
So how convincing is that argument?
When I say there are 5 versions, it means that there are 5 different versions which have different words at times. There are verbs which are different. There are nouns which are different. There is a difference between plural and singular. There's a difference between declensions or the i'rab, and then we have other differences as well.
Today, most Muslims read the Quran in a text that is referred to as the Egyptian edition of 1924. But this is not the only text of the Quran that is read throughout the world. In North Africa, there is a slightly different text that is based on a slightly different reading. In some parts of Africa, there is another reading of the Quran and a matching manuscript that is prevalent.
Every single student of knowledge knows, who studies Ulum al-Quran, that the most difficult topics are ahruf and qira'at, and the concept of ahruf and the reality of ahruf and the relationship of the Uthmanic Mus'haf with the ahruf and the preservation of the ahruf. Is it 1, is it 3, is it 7? And the relationship of the qira'at to the ahruf.
Non-Muslims looking at this from an academic point of view, and they're going to say that it looks like the Quran has been transmitted in the way that other books were transmitted, with variations.
When you go to academia, they don't have that red line. And they're going to just, the famous story of the emperor with no clothes. They're going to just point out, no, that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's not true, and this and that. And they'll bring issues, which I'm not going to mention explicitly, that you know are true because they're in your own books. They're not inventing anything new. They'll bring you riwayat, and they'll bring you athar, and then you add to that very well-known issues of, I don't even want to be explicit. And then you bring on top of that makhtutat, and then. And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say. The standard narrative does not answer some very pressing questions.
May I show you, viewers, that if I show you this Quran before me and I open up any page of the Quran, you'll find on its sides other variant readings of a particular verse which is mentioned in the main text are mentioned in the margins, and you can see that there's hardly a page in this whole corpus of the Quran which is devoid of any variation in this reading.
Human scribes over time have been human beings, and as human beings, naturally they were prone to error, and they made many different kinds of errors. These kinds of errors are many.
There are numerous examples in which we can see these scribal errors in which an extra va or extra ya or an extra alif is found in these versions of the Quran.
This is a topic that when you're the beginning student of knowledge, you're like, what is all of this going on here? When you go a little bit more, you learn to simply memorize what your teachers say and regurgitate it out, and you don't fully comprehend. When you do a deep dive is when things get very, very awkward and difficult. And this isn't new. This is from the time of the Sahaba. In the Sahih or the Hasan Hadith of Ubay bin Ka'b, the Hadith of the Ahruf, that when the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the issue of Ahruf and that there are different Ahruf and whatnot, this is in the version of Muslim Imam Ahmad. Ubay bin Ka'b says, authentic Hadith, فَدَخَلَ فِي نَفْسِي شَكٍّ. In my heart, a doubt came that I hadn't had about Islam since the days of Jahiliyyah.
This is verse of Surah Naml has extra alif contained in it. The words are لَأُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا أَوْ لَأَذْبَحَنَّهُ. As you can see, the underlined word, the alif, which actually succeeds the other alif, is an extra alif because the word is لَأَذْبَحَنَّهُ.
The issue of ahruf and preservation and qira'at and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there.
Similarly, another example is from Surah Al Imran. This is verse 158. And here again we find an extra alif. The words are وَلَئِن مُتُّمْ أَوْ قُتِلْتُمْ لَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. The first of these alif or the second of these alif is redundant, and it has to be subtracted from reading or deleted from reading. Otherwise, we'll have an opposite meaning. La ilallah tuhsharun would mean that it is for sure that people shall be gathered before the Almighty. But if we read it with the second alif as well, then the verse would become La ilallah, and we shall not people or you should not be gathered before the Almighty. So you can see there is an exactly opposite meaning.
When it comes to the order of chapters themselves, some of this seems to have been based on the judgment of or the knowledge of the companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
Order of the Quranic surahs in Abdullah ibn Masud's codex and of Ubay ibn Ka'b's codex is being displayed before you. And this has been brought to surface by Ibn Nadim's Al-Fahrist and Suyuti's Al-Itqan. And they have displayed this arrangement in their own books and said that this is how the Quran was arranged in the companion codices. Again, this question struck me that if the Quran had a different arrangement and different companions, and the Quran of Usman again had a different arrangement, then which is the correct arrangement?
To try and make this as specific as possible, I think if I were to give you a blank mushaf, yeah, and tell you to write what is munazzal verbatim from Allah into that mushaf with no human interference, would you write something which corresponds?
It's not an easy answer. It's not an easy yes or no. It is enough for the Muslim to believe that the
I think
Quran
this should
is
be an easy yes or no, though. Yes, Khadi. I have to.
Okay, very, very well. So, yeah, Muhammad, after we get off this phone call, me and you, let's have a number of discussions. No problem. I'm very open with advanced students.